collective kinship, collective care, loving one another despite differences, across life forms. The earth is alive. All the plants out there, the trees, the animals, they are all alive and feeling. Elephants cry. Orcas carry their dead calves for miles. We are all feeling emotional beings.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging norms and helping you redefine vulnerability as a strength. I'm your host, Reggie D. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle dives into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability in fostering meaningful connections, healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth. Sometimes these conversations are uncomfortable, but good workouts often are. So join us and flex that vulnerability muscle. Welcome to this episode of Vulnerability Muscle. I'm your host, Reggie D. Here at Vulnerability Muscle, where we're redefining vulnerability as a strength to help connect, to heal, to grow, to innovate. And today I have with me an amazing guest. Fatima-Ayan Malika Hirsi is a Black mother who spends time with forests and waters on unceded lands of the Sauk Nation. Her work strives to instigate action in service to world building, social change, and collaboration. Her poems appear and are forthcoming in MAYDAY, Torch, Obsidian, Literature and Arts, and the African Diaspora and other portals. She wants you to scream for a free Palestine. Wow. What a beautiful introduction. And I can already tell the poetic nature of that you have a way with words. Welcome, Fatima. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so grateful to have you. And I want to open up with a question that is just been on my heart. And this is before we even hop into anything else. But how's your heart today?
Today, my heart is doing better than it has in recent days. And I think it's because last night I had the most wonderful dream I had the most wonderful visitation from my mother who died recently. And so I'm just really I feel love just bubbling up inside me at the memory of holding her hand in the dream and being interlocked arm in arm. And that's how we would walk around everywhere. We'd be in public, just engulfed in each other. And I always felt so much love. Everyone can see how much I love my mother. And I just feel really grateful to be swimming in that energy with you.
Wow. Well, there's a lot there from the gratitude that you experienced, the love that you shared, and that memory of holding her hand. I'm grateful that you had that opportunity and that it combated some of the hard feelings that you've been feeling recently. So I'm thankful for that visitation that you got.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I want to hear way more about everything that you got going on and about the stories that you have to share. But let's hop into a segment I call What Comes to Mind. And so you let me know the first thing you think of when I say this next thing. What comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability?
Crying, surrender.
I like that. I'm gonna let that breathe for a minute. I like that. What do you do to center yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or maybe even depressed?
Cry. Breathe. Feel my feet on the ground and think about everything beneath my feet and all the life and how everything is connected.
Yes, we are all connected. I want to touch on cry because it's come up twice. Tell me about that. Tell me what crying does for you, what it feels like, what comes out of that experience for you.
Mm-hmm. Goes back to surrender. It feels like a cleansing, a release, a letting go, a I think crying is a portal, like I feel one way before the tears come, and then the tears come. And after they're all out, I just feel like more, I don't know if buoyant is the word in all situations, but I feel better, certainly. And I feel really grateful that like crying comes so easily.
Mm.
And when I was in Dallas, I was known as the crying poet of Dallas because I'd just
Mm.
like get on stage and like as I'm sharing my poetry, I'd just be, a face full of tears and not even like
Wow.
skip a beat while I'm sharing. Um and I could, you might have to put a cap on this because I can talk about crying. I can talk about how
No,
society
I
doesn't
want to
want us
hear
to
it
do
all.
it. Yeah, like,
Do you encourage it for other people?
oh yes, certainly. It's I think it's a gift, and I think it's also something that doesn't come naturally to everyone because society has so told us that it's not okay. And dominant
Mhm.
society does not want us to be open with our feelings and is scared of our feelings because what happens when we're open with our feelings is that we reach and connect with other people. And that is exactly what those in power don't want us to do.
Mhm.
And yeah, I hope everyone can come to a place where they can cry openly. And I feel for certain populations where it's even more denigrated than for others, like you as a black man must know how hard
Yeah.
society is like, don't show your feelings.
Went years without crying, went years suppressing those emotions, and I think that's one of the greatest realizations that I had was that I am human and humans
Mhm,
cry. And so
mhm,
reclaiming my humanity by crying, by expressing the whole spectrum of emotions is something that I am most proud of today for myself and being able to get to that place. And so thank you for that. I see that.
mhm,
Appreciate that.
mhm.
What is one of your favorite childhood memories, Fatima?
I have this memory of my mother. I guess she's just like with me today. I mean, she's with me every day, but here we are now. And I am thinking about when we did not have a car and I had siblings. And so we would walk to the grocery store, the whole family, just like weighed down by grocery bags. And I remember she had a runny nose and she wanted to blow her nose on my shirt. And I was adamantly against this. And she wanted to play. So she was like trying to get my shirt. And I ran away from her and she chased, and we're both like, running around the middle of the street with all these grocery bags. And finally, like, we ended up in like a literal tussle, like rolling down the street together, like in a giggle of laughter. And like, I just remember the feeling of that, like deep, guttural laughter. I think I was probably laughing so hard I was crying.
Wow, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. I can just see it. I have stories connected to the grocery store as well, and that's an experience that you hold on to you for a long time, especially when it is a challenge. When it's not ease, there's you remember those things, and to have such a beautiful memory tied to that, walking from the grocery store with bags and rolling around laughing with your mom. Like that is beautiful. Wow. You've brought up your mom multiple times. I'm curious if you want to kind of paint a picture of what it was like growing up with her, what your upbringing was like.
Um, yeah, here we go.
Oh, yes. I love the picture. Beautiful.
And she was my best friend. She was my biggest cheerleader. I always felt like I could tell her anything. Um, she also like really told me how to use my voice. She defended me. Where do I start? That's such a big question. Talk about this person who you love so much.
Yeah. I think that it's so important to, I mean, you said that she's always with you, and I thought that was beautiful because when people transition, there's often this loss of who they were when they were here, but their soul and their spirit carries on, and she's shining brightly through you today. And I think that that has been instilled in you, and the influence that she's had on your life is evident. And I'm curious if anything that she did or that you guys did together growing up influenced some of the ways in which you speak or write and share yourself so vulnerably.
Oh, certainly. She is. In the past, I've been asked certain questions like, how did you get here, or what's behind your success, or whatever. And I always want to say my mother is to blame for every success I will ever have. She
Mm.
is like part of that. And I can go back to her reading to me every night and like starting me out with that love of words and getting me hooked on phonics before I even started school. I could read. And her, she was also, there were spans of my childhood where she was a single mom. So she would read the story while I was in school where we left off, so that when I was with the babysitter at night, I just had to push play and hear her voice.
Mm,
And
wow.
she found me a teen magazine to work at when I was in middle school, just funded by the city. And I remember starting it in middle school and being like, oh, I want to be the editor. I want to be the editor in chief one day, and seeing like the big high schoolers who were running things. And like I did, I made my way up there. And I'm thinking about also not just in terms of poetry and giving me a love of words, but also giving me a love for justice. And very early on, I don't know exactly how I came to this understanding that things were not right in the United States. Like I very early on saw this two worlds where it's like, oh, 4th of July, America, la 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 la, flowers. And I also saw this other side, like, why is my mom killing herself to work? Like, why are there people homeless on the street or unhoused? And, all of those things. And it was instilled so deeply so early that in first grade, I was decided I didn't want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or say it with
Mm.
everyone
In the
else
first grade, you said?
in the first grade.
Wow.
And this was not okay with my teacher, such that I got like called up and talked to. And I told my mom about it, or my teacher told my mom. I don't exactly remember, but I do remember my mother going to the school and talking to my teacher about it. And then coming to an arrangement that was, I had to stand, but I did not have to put my hand on my heart or recite the words. And
Mhm.
that's who my mother was. Like she showed me what is right and what is real. And like when I wanted to stand up for that, she was there beside me to defend my right to express myself.
Wow. What a brave first grader to be able to stand in what they knew to be what's right and what's real. As an adult looking back on that, or reflecting on that time, or just reflecting on your life in America, what do you view as right and what has America gotten wrong? I know that's a big old question.
This is a whole like series of
I
books.
know, yeah, I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna just watch. This is the Fatima show. Let's go.
Okay, you had a two-part question. The last part was, what has America got wrong? What was the first part?
What is your view of what's right?
What is my view of collective kinship, collective care, loving one another despite differences across, life forms? The earth is alive. All the plants out there, the trees, the animals, they are all alive and feeling. Elephants cry. Orcas carry their dead calves for miles. We are all feeling emotional beings. And
Mm,
to deny anyone, um, just basic rights, basic joys, basic needs, and is wrong. Like it all comes down to like be kind to, right? The golden rule, basics, right? Like
mhm.
love thy neighbor.
Yeah,
Everybody's your neighbor.
right, right. I think we have gotten that grossly wrong, where we view people of something different, different whatever, fill in the blank, as less than or as a bad entity in themselves, and it's like no person, no being, no. I love how you intertwine that with nature and the collective universe. Like we are all one, and none of those things are bad. None of those things are inherently um unworthy. They are all worthy just because they are. And I think that it's so beautiful, collective kinship. I hadn't heard that term before, and I'm curious what where that came from, and when did you really start thinking in those terms?
Mhm, mhm. I don't exactly know when that exact vocabulary came to me or where it came from. Perhaps I read it somewhere or, saw it on Instagram. I don't have a memory of that moment, but I do remember in COVID, one of my closest friends, Angel Faz made a picture. They're an amazing artist, and they made an image called Collective Care, and it was part of this larger art exhibition. And it was an image of just like people in mask because that was what collective care looked like at that time, and I would argue still looks like. And thinking about collective care brought me to thinking about collective kinship and how we are just like all family, and how would the earth be such a different place if we just considered family to not just be the blood in our veins, but just everyone alive who is caring and kind and deserves the same thing that you deserve or I deserve.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. We are we are all kin, far beyond the blood in our veins. You have such a way with words and such a way of looking at the world that I think and it's coming out through even some of the word choice. Like you've said love a bunch throughout this conversation, and you've talked about that collective unity of all these things and people. And you've built something to highlight voices, and you're the founder of Dark Moon Poetry and Arts. Is that correct? Tell me the inspiration behind that and how you uplift the arts in the world through that work.
Mhm. That is actually a project that has ended in that incarnation. And so that looked like me living in Dallas and all of the big city art things going on, and, definitely feeling nourished, but also feeling like something was missing. And so I wanted to co-create a space with by welcoming other people into somewhere that uplifted feminine energies and non-binary energies, energies of color, to share art across disciplines. So not just a poetry show, but like also music, also performance art. A place where a mother can do her performance art while walking around breastfeeding, while her other child runs around, a place that was just inclusive and also, had some magical energies in there. I love the moon, so everything I do, a lot of what I do incorporates moon energy. So yeah, that's the story of Dark Moon. It lasted for 2 or 3 years, and it started out in my living room, just me inviting some friends to share poetry, and then I had this goal of it being in a particular venue and growing. And by the third show, it was monthly. It was there, and then it found a
Mm,
permanent home at Deep Vellum Books, which
mm,
houses Deep Vellum Publishing, which is my publisher of Dreams for Earth.
wow, wow, that's so cool. I mean, just to build the community around a shared vision where people feel included to be themselves, to show up as themselves, and to express themselves through their artwork is so beautiful. Your work. I wanna hear about the process. What is the internal process of you creating a poem that you ultimately share with the world?
Mhm. It's there's kind of two sides to it. So a lot of people think of writing as being an individual pursuit. You go off in your writing caves and you write a poem. And for me, that's not how it works. My
Mhm.
poems don't I require in my current version of my life community. And so most of my poems are written when I'm looking into a screen and someone else is there and we're both like looking down at our writing and we're doing it together.
Mhm.
So that's one piece. And another piece is that I don't really think about sharing with the world when I'm actually writing. What I'm writing, it's just what I'm feeling. It's just who or what I'm being haunted by. It's just what came to me while I was washing the dishes. And finally, I'm sitting down and I can release and let that out. So that's what it looks like. And also, when I begin a poem, I never know where it's going to end. It just comes out as it comes out, and then it's truly almost like a haunting or possession because I look down and I'm like, what is where did this come from? Thank you, and also what?
Yeah.
Um,
Do you ever feel so I write poetry at times, and even this is a lot of poetry that I don't share with the world. I just keep it and I write it. It's a way that I express myself. But sometimes I feel that I have to keep going, right? Like a two-line poem just doesn't feel complete to me. And I'm curious what your thoughts around that, because I would love the permission for you to tell me that, hey, that all those two-line poems are okay.
Oh, certainly. I think they're okay if you think they're okay. So
Hmm.
if the root of your discontent is this is not what society says is a poem, I would tell you to say fuck that. But
Hmm.
if the root of your discontent is, oh, I feel like I have more to say, then I would say, okay, respect that and invite those words to come through.
That's beautiful. Do you ever write? Well, I'm sure you have many writings that are not shared with other people, correct? Is that fair to say?
Hmm.
Do you have a thought behind those type of writings? Is it because of the level of vulnerability? Is it because of the level of quality, or what prevents you from releasing certain things versus others? Because I have some friends who do poetry, who do music, who write, and their best for me, like having been a confidant, their best stuff is on a hard drive or
Hmm.
in a folder that nobody else sees. Do you have any rationale behind what you share and what you don't share?
Not really. For me, it all comes down to time. So, for example, I have in my notebook, I have so many poems or so many writings that I have begun, but just not had time to return to. And so I
Mhm.
might start something on a ferry boat where there's no Wi Fi and be like, oh, I want to return to this. But before I can return to this, I might have a writing date with a friend and we throw prompts at each other and then something comes through in that time. And so for me, it's more of an issue of time related to making something ready to be shared versus like not feeling like I can share.
I love
I
that.
yeah, I don't really feel like I have any borders around what can be shared.
Wow. And you've packaged your poems. I don't even know if that's the correct way to say that. But your poems have been cataloged and you've shared that with the world in many publications. Can you talk about what that process was like for you, to, the time before you released those and the time right after? Like what did that feel like when you exposed yourself in that way?
Hmm. Before I don't know if there's a big difference in how I felt before and after. I think for me the biggest difference is before and after the poem actually exist versus, when it's out in the world it's just like, oh, this is a poem I already know so well. Like I already feel like I've released it. It doesn't really matter that all these other eyes have seen it because I have come to completion with it and I've spent so much time with it editing and thinking about it. And so I don't think that sharing it gives a different feeling. There's the oh, it's nice that like my work exists in this world with these other people who I admire who are also in this issue, or like I really respect the work that this journal puts out and I'm so honored that they are uplifting my voice as well. But I I think gratitude for those aspects is the biggest difference versus if I just keep it to myself, then I'm just grateful to God. But once it's
Mm.
out in the world, there's these other people who deserve gratitude as well.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever encounter um, criticism for the work that you put out, and how do you deal with that?
I I have encountered criticism from people who are not poets and who are not artists. The only time I have encountered criticism is when I was a Lyft driver in Dallas and I had my car decked out. It was, you could tell it was an artist car because I had my chapbooks, like, you know, that little flap on the passenger and seat so that
Yeah.
if you're sitting in the back seat, you can pop a folder or something. So I had my chapbooks there. I had signs, I had, you know, like rocks and crystals and all kinds of stuff. And so, you know, I had my books available for purchase for my Lyft passengers. And I would have people flip through it sometimes and be like, this is really dark. Or, you know, the title of that chapbook was Everything Good is Dying. And it was about politics in the United States and globally. And a lot of the poems had titles taken from actual news headlines. So,
Mm.
you know, people would say it was dark or, you know, they would. um, and I would just say, you know, like, this is our world. Our world isn't all flowers and rainbows. And if we pretend that it is, then it never will be because we need to
Mm.
address the things that are not.
Mm. Wow. Wow. That's powerful. And you stay so convicted in your views. You give me the sense of so much self-assurance and self-security that the opinions of others aren't affecting you. Is that something that is instilled in you? Would you say that's a fair statement, or is that something that's been instilled in you over your lifetime?
I wouldn't say that the opinions of others don't affect me. I would say that the opinions of those I love and care about and respect very much affect me, but the opinion of someone who is misinformed does not affect me.
That's good. That's good. How do you tell the difference?
Oh, it's very clear. It's, you know, it's all energy. It's all energy and, you know, what someone says. Something that I've heard that my nana used to say is like, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Mm.
And that's not a nanaism. I know that exists like out in the world alongside her, but I very much think that it's very clear who your people are and who they are not. And if someone is not your people, you don't need to be concerned with their thoughts about you.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Thank you for that. You talked about living but beside forests and beside waters, and I'm curious what the role of nature has played in your journey, in your life, and in your creation.
Hmm. Yeah, I think nature constantly reminds us about collective kinship. So just yesterday, I was reading up on this plant called ghost pipe, also known as ghost plant or Indian pipe. And it's a flower, but it has like fungal properties. And it, you know, the internet calls it a parasitic flower, but you know, what some people call parasitism, I would say is a different kind of like symbiotic relationship. And so I think
Mm,
that nature is just always showing us the way that we rely on one another. And there's just nothing that exists in isolation. You know, from the struggles to the love, it's all connected to everything else.
hmm. Wow. Wow. That's deep. I can you elaborate on what you meant with what some will consider a parasitic relationship being something deeper? That
Hmm.
I thought that that was very insightful.
Yeah, you know, I'm just thinking about the United States where there's and maybe globally also, you know, people of certain privileges might see someone unhoused and be like, oh, you're a parasite for a society because you need XYZ things. And it's like, well, look at you over here hoarding wealth and like not sharing anything you have. And how many people have had to suffer for you to have what you have?
Mm, yeah. So that's powerful. Wow. Wow. I've gotten, as I've grown, I've become much more compassionate to nature, and even, thinking about the leaves that I pick, because it's not my right to take leaves off of trees. And to the mosquitoes, I don't like mosquitoes, and I sometimes swat at them out of instinct. But like, who am I to kill these things? Who am I to harm? What's nature? And everything has its right to exist. And I think just that reframe around what is a parasite um is very interesting to me. So I'm going to be pondering that for a minute. So thank you for that insight.
Hmm.
I'm curious how you, as someone who is speaking truth to systems, as someone who is advocating for the rights of yourself and others, how do you protect your energy and your emotional well-being through that?
Hmm. With a lot of intention. I don't do what doesn't nourish me. I do what gives me joy.
Yeah. What gives you joy?
Being with my family, my loved ones, my friends, going to the ocean, being in the forest, having a writing date with a friend, meditation. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love all those things. I think that's so great. I'm curious what the role of forgiveness plays in your life. Is that something that you've seen in have you received forgiveness in any aspect of life? And have you given it? And what does that look like in terms of a more macro level? If we were to get to a place of the utopia that the world, I guess, desires.
I don't think utopia is ever achievable. Everyone has a different version of utopia, you know? My utopia is someone else's dystopia for whatever reason. They don't like equality.
Mm, mm,
I think
mm.
that I have been forgiven. Hmm. I think I was forgiven. When have I been forgiven? I'm sure that I have. I feel like throughout my life, there have been spans when I did not call my mother every day and she would forgive me.
Mm,
And I think I have a very, maybe that's not right to say. Forgiveness is a challenge for me because I am a quadruple Scorpio and I hold on to things and I have very high standards, I've been told, for my expectations of others. And there are so I don't believe that everything is forgivable. You know, there's a meme online that I so relate to, and it's like torn between restorative justice and you need to slap that person. And that's me. It's like, oh, I want to believe that every person can change and every person can grow. And also, what Israel is doing in Palestine is unforgivable. Every
mm,
person behind that, every person who has condoned it, every person who continues to stay silent is unforgivable.
wow. Yeah. Wow. I That is so powerful in um I think it's more than a boundary that you set around some certain things aren't forgivable. And I think that is I don't know if I see the world in that same way. But I can understand it. I can understand when there's so much passion behind the fight for justice, and to see day in and day out injustice and harm and abuse being inflicted on people, and how that feels unforgivable. Uh yeah, I that's powerful. Wow. Wow. I'm curious if you have written anything in response to what's going on in Palestine, or if you have any things to share that can highlight the passion that you hold for justice. Do you have any writings that you are willing to share with us?
Yes, I do. On this topic of forgiveness, I will share something.
And you don't have to hold, like we talked about this earlier, but like your language is welcomed here. I want all of it. I want it to be as colorful as you want it to be. And we will highlight and celebrate you as you are.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
This poem is called This is the Soul of My Soul. And those are words spoken by Khalid Nabhan as he cradled the body of his 3-year-old granddaughter, Reem, who was killed by an Israeli airstrike on Gaza in November 2023. And Khalid was killed this most recent December 2024. And so there's this image of him. Have you seen this image of him
I
holding
have
his
not.
granddaughter?
No.
There's this image. It's been made into art by artists all over the world. And those words, this is the soul of my soul, will never leave my soul.
Mm.
And when I think about what I'm seeing every day, when I think about, the sanitized images of what's happening and the sanitized headlines of what's happening, and they're not showing the children who are, losing their limbs and sustaining these horrific injuries and undergoing operations with no anesthesia, no proper medical care. Gaza has the highest rate of child amputees in history.
Mm.
And there's so much that I can say, but I think I just want to read this poem. Mm-hmm. This is the soul of my soul. I loved her too. I love them all, always will. A new violence blossoms inside my bosom. I sing onyx into its sharpness. Surely this is what the ones who did this, are doing this, want, right? I want to give them what they want. What they want is not laughter on playgrounds. I want to be the thing they love, which is not peace. Inside me, aches. I cannot type words I want for fear of being dragged away. Politicians don't understand metaphor. This is a poem. This poem is not a threat. It is larger. Cradle this as promise. Our rage will bore into the next lives of those responsible. On all their futures. Every time they fall in love, their hearts will break. Every morning tear we cry will haunt them past their graves. Each time they return to earth, it will be to feel the pain they caused. There is no redemption. There is no apology for this. Damn these fingernails of mine. Damn these nostrils. Were I a god, I would be the kind to be feared. But I am only a mother.
Mm. Powerful.
So, no, I don't believe forgiveness is always warranted.
This is the soul of my soul. Wow. I think in that case, right, there has to be extreme. You can't bring back lives. You can't bring back the peace that a child is born with. You can't bring back those things. And so to continue to perpetuate that harm, yeah, there's no forgiving that. So where there is justice, where there is repair, those things I feel are forgivable. But your words are so powerful, and I love how you embody the essence of what you share. Like it exudes through your pores, and it is so evident that you're to your dying days, you are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think the world gets better with people who challenge the status quo as you do. And I'm so grateful for what you are fighting for. I'm so grateful for your passion. I'm so grateful that you give a fuck. Because there are so many people who sit on the sidelines and who don't give a fuck. There's so many people who whose issue it's not, and so they move no needles. And you are such a strong force in this world, and you're a mother. You you've created life. And so there is another generation of you coming up that is going to continue to be that ripple effect that continues to push the needle to change, to fight for change. Tell me what it's been like to become a mother, to raise a child, and to think about what their future is in this world.
I think that for me, parenthood has been the ultimate act of world building. And I process the world differently. I feel everything more. I It feels so cliche and I've heard it 1,000 times and it is so true that like I didn't know I could love this deeply. And when I see my daughters and when I feel those moments of extreme, extreme love, like we're playing, it's fun, but every day there's a moment where I'm just like I'm in quicksand, but the quicksand is love, and I'm just drowning in it. And I just I start crying because I feel the love for them, and I feel the love for all the people I have seen inside my phone who are having that stolen. And I feel like my love for my children has helped me to love the world and people and all living beings more. And I grew up thinking that that was who I was. Like, I'd be a child, and whenever we were done with our worksheet culture, I would draw on the back of my worksheets like free save the Amazon, or everybody recycle, my little liberation PSAs. And I thought like that just grew into a feeling that I never knew could be so large. I don't know if I answered all of your question.
No, what you shared was beautiful. I love the metaphor of being in quicksand, but that quicksand being love. If we are so fortunate to be in that position in life, like I'm like melting over here wanting to feel that feeling. So thank you for that. That was so beautifully put. Oh man. I wanna hop into a segment before we close out here, and it's a fill in the blank. And so you can carry these as long as you want or as short. It could be one word or an entire story. But you let me know what you think of. Liberation means blank.
Fear of those in power.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Fear held by those in power. Like
Okay.
those in power fear liberation.
I got you. My greatest source of strength is blank.
God, my ancestors.
Yeah. My superpower is blank.
Feeling.
Mm. If I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be blank.
Do what you know you are here to do.
That's real. A poem or a line that haunts me is blank.
The duty of an artist is to make the revolution irresistible. Tony Cade Bambara.
I love that. Wow. That's so powerful. Fatima, this has been such a I don't want to use a word that I've used before. I have to use a different word because it's such a unique experience that I've had with you. Um, Captivating. You've captivated me with your passion. And I think that that is something that I don't feel that often. I'm not gonna lie. And you you exude it. You scream it. You shout it and you express it with tears, with words, with emotion, and with actual action. You are doing the thing. And you're not just sitting back and you're not watching life go by. You are making it happen. And I'm so proud of you for all that you've put out into the world and all that you are to the world. And I thank you for introducing me to this concept of collective kinship, because that is something that I will carry with me in every second of every day as I interact with all the beings of the world. So I appreciate that. Are there are there any final thoughts, any shout outs, any things that you want to leave the listeners with before we close out here?
Yes, thank you for that invitation and all those kind words. My goodness. Hearing that just really, really makes my day. You know, it's already sunshiny here, but now I'm like really feeling it.
Good.
Um, yeah, I would like to just thank everyone who's been alongside me for this journey, you know, like my friends who are part of my book's journey. Angel Faz, Anna Jack Jackson did amazing art. All the people who have played with my children so that I could write. Too long a list to name everyone. You know, my mother, of course, my husband. Um, and I would also like to shout out, like, I don't think that art is enough. I think that you have to put action behind your art. And so, in that sense, I really want to shout out some organizations like Workshops for Gaza. They are trying to take knowledge sharing out of the university and spread it amongst the people. And so it's people from all disciplines, all walks of life, just sharing their knowledge, and all funds from those classes go directly to people in Gaza who need assistance. And Crips for eSIMs provides a way for the people on the ground to still share their stories despite the lack of, you know, technology and um, communication services that are just down during a genocide. So I just really invite people, if you are inspired by what I share, to do something, to act. You know, the work that I put into the world is not just for someone to sit on their couch and read a book and put it down and go read another book. Like, please be instigated toward action. And I don't mean call your representatives. I don't mean go out and vote, because the people we are voting for are enabling this to happen. I mean, go do
Wow.
something in your community and be part of the ecosystem where you live, and consider your ecosystem to be the larger world.
Wow. That is powerful. That is powerful. I love going beyond voting because that is less than a tip of the iceberg. That's a rock that's sitting on the iceberg, and um, that's powerful. Fatima, how can people connect with you, contact you, read your works, or be inspired by you?
Thank you. I am Fatima Writing Doula on social media. I have a website. If you search me up, I'll be right there. And I am putting on a workshop with Workshops for Gaza on October 30th, which is my birthday. So it's how I'm celebrating, by sharing my love for the queen of love songs, like the queen, but also abolish the monarchy. But Sade is the queen. So the workshop is called Writing Toward Collective Kinship through Sade Songs, October
Okay.
30th. And I hope that your listeners, some of them, can join us for that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the passion that you have for what you do. With all the things that you could be doing and all the places you could be, I appreciate you being here with me, embracing vulnerability.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of Vulnerability Muscle. If you've enjoyed these conversations around vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us to continue to do the work that we do, but it allows other people to witness the power of vulnerability. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And don't forget to spread the word. You can follow us at Vulnerability Muscle on Instagram and me personally at Reggie D Ford across all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and support. And remember, embracing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is the source of your greatest strength. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but most workouts are. So keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.